Welcome to It Starts With Whiskey, the podcast where every conversation begins with a sip of whiskey and takes us on a journey through the diverse landscapes of life. I'm Ryan.
I'm Thee.
And I'm Jojo.
Together we'll embark on an adventure filled with spirited discussions fueled by our love for whiskey and ignited by our passion for exploring the world around us.
And of course, no conversation is off limits. From thought-provoking debates to lighthearted banter, expect a healthy dose of controversy as we navigate through the complexities of life.
So grab your favorite glass, pour yourself a dram, and join us on It Starts With Whiskey, where every episode is an adventure waiting to unfold.
Welcome to Episode 7, Nostalgia Neat, Growing Up in the 80s.
Woo!
Taking us back to our childhood
Yes,
days.
you are.
Well, you know it's official now, Joe. You said a few episodes ago you're aging us. I think it's time for us to confess.
Yes,
Yep.
we're old.
Since we picked this subject, it's a true confessional.
Yeah. Yeah, this is going to be fun.
I think so too.
So, before we get into that, what's going on with you, Thee?
Well, you know, it's been about a week since we recorded. Not too much happened in the last week per se. I'm getting ready to head out of town. It'll be my turn to travel for once. So pretty excited about that. And then we were just talking about the fact that my flight takes place sort of close to the solar eclipse. So I'm kind of excited. I thought it was going to be much more close to being in the line of totality when it happened, but I don't know. I'm excited about it, and at least I won't freak out when the lights go out on the airplane.
I'm surprised they didn't upcharge you for your even being in the air during totality. I saw Delta Airlines actually has flights that were specifically for that
Yep.
they released.
I heard about that.
Yeah, they're expensive.
Yeah.
I'd
Yeah.
pay it though.
I know you would.
I would go.
What about you, Joe?
So, I've just been working from home, resting up after my surgery. Kind of, I went and saw a movie with my mom, the King Kong Godzilla. She loves that stuff. So we had fun. And then I went out to dinner with a friend, and then I was my mom's plus one at a dinner in the neighborhood. So there's a bunch of us there. It was fun.
Neighborhood parties, those are always fun.
They are fun. You know what? Lake parties, like the lake communities, it's interesting. They're really a good group of people. So, and there's this guy. His name is Rich. Oh my gosh, we are so mean to each other. We banter back and forth. He's hysterical. He's such a nerd. And I hope, Rich, you're listening, because this will make you laugh, because you're a little nerd bomber, and I just love you. What about you, Ryan? What's new?
Well, I think I said last time we were trying to decide if we were going to make it down to Zoe's 21st birthday, my daughter. And we did. We got to go down and took her and Eli out for a nice dinner. And then Eve and I took Zoe to campus so we could hit one campus bar, at least for one drink. So Zoe had one beer there, and then we called it a night because we're all old. And went back to Zoe's place, and we were watching old Vine clips. I forgot about Vine, like pre-Instagram.
Oh. There was a, yeah.
So that was kind of interesting. I forgot how bad, that social media
It was
platform kind of thing was back then.
It reminded me of just a step above America's Funniest Home Videos.
Yes.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
It was a lot like that. On the way down, we got to listen to Zoe's radio show. So
Ooh.
they had their first show back on the air since the studio got destroyed by drunks last year. So I'm going to give her a plug
Please do.
On our podcast. It is Conversion Therapy, and it's Wednesdays 2 to 3 p.m. on arouseosu.com. And no, it's not
No, it's not.
not
That's
that
where my
kind
brain
of
went.
arouse. It's a different kind of arouse. Arouse your senses kind of thing. So, yeah, Conversion Therapy, arouseosu.com, Wednesdays 2 to 3 p.m. They play a lot of indie type music, college stuff, and chat a little bit about the songs, and it's fun.
That's
And
cool.
Very cool.
They enjoy it.
Are they on? Okay, here's me. So radio means live, right?
It's live.
Yeah.
And you can go back and watch it because
Yeah.
they'll keep it up for 1 week until
Yeah.
the next episode.
Talk about pressure, though.
Right.
Like you're in that moment.
That could be us someday.
Oh,
Ooh.
we shall see.
I don't know if we could do that, though.
I don't either, especially with me.
Yeah.
Ryan, can you edit that out, please? Ryan, can you? I shouldn't have said that, Ryan, please. I saw Athena's eyes. Edit for me.
And then last night,
Wait.
Oh.
Before you jump ahead, I would like to give a shout out. Happy birthday to Zoe.
Yeah.
You
Happy
know,
21.
Happy 21.
Mhm.
Exactly, for me and Joe.
Yeah, good for you, kiddo.
And she got a job.
Yeah.
And will be moving back home
Congratulations
this
on
summer.
that.
So we'll have both kids here with us, which we're excited about again.
There you go.
I bet.
And then I was going to say last night, Eve and I went out back to Butcher's Union again, and we were there. She hasn't been able to go with me since she's been coaching. So first time we got to go out, and we met comedian Mike Logan. Very, very funny guy. I was watching some of his clips online and stuff like that. So that was kind of cool.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay. So what are we tasting today to kick things off?
Ooh. What'd you pick for us?
So today, since we're talking 80s, we are going to do Blanton's single barrel. And a little bit about that. I know we've talked about this before, just how people are obsessed with finding it and everything. Luckily,
It's that
I
doggone
know.
bottle stopper.
It is.
Bottle topper. Yep.
Luckily, I had a few bottles stashed in the basement.
Just a few.
So we'll give a little background on this, and then we'll do our tasting. This is a bourbon that ties back to the 80s, as I said. It was first introduced in 1984, and Blanton's holds the distinction of being the first single-barrel bourbon commercially released.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. So this move set the stage for the premium bourbon market and helped revive interest in high-quality artisanal bourbon during a time when lighter spirits were dominating the market. So another little quick tidbit here. It's known for its smooth and complex flavor profile, which I will not tell you about until after
That's right.
we do our tasting. So I hid that, not looking at it. And I'm going to do my little swirl here on our glass that we learned from the other guy.
SB. No, that's the
Forget what the podcast was.
SLB bourbon. Great little show.
Yeah, it is.
So I'm getting a little spicy on the nose. Little caramel, not a lot of caramel though.
No.
On the nose.
God, it's been a long time since I tried this, so I'm excited.
I'm getting buttery.
You know what?
Or is it butterscotch? Is it?
It might
butter?
be butterscotch.
Is another drop like butterscotch, caramel, like they all just kind of
Yeah.
they're so similar. I gotta say, while you guys are sipping your first sips, this is like one of my favorite things about what we're doing here is how we enjoy bourbon, which we do even off the podcast, of course. But I love the way that we tie in a drink to what we're going to talk about.
Me too.
Yeah.
Like, when we got excited about having this subject this week, we know the 80s. We lived through them.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, yeah, we have a disclaimer that says we're not experts in anything, but we're experts in the world we came from, that's for sure. But Ryan, I thought it was so cool that you were able to find the connection with Blanton's, which isn't a new whiskey for us by any means, but how cool is it that it fits so well into this subject? I love that.
Yeah.
That's good.
Taste wise, right up front, it's kind of sweet.
Very.
And then it's very caramely.
It is caramely.
Yes.
And then at the end, I get a little peppery.
Do you?
Just on the back of my
the back
throat.
end, I'm getting it's like a heavy dose of spice. So I can't nail down the spice. It's kind of a sweeter spice, but that's what I get on the back end of my throat.
Oh, yeah, that's good.
It is good.
And this is, like we had said, this is one of those polarizing bottles because you watch on the some of the Facebook groups and stuff like that. People are proud when they find it. And then you've always got the other people that I'm convinced can't find it, so they're posting back
Bitter.
that they're very bitter, and it's like, well, there's 1,000 other bottles out there better than Blanton's.
Oh, those Kevins.
Yep.
But you know what?
Doggone Kevins.
I love it. I think it's very tasty. It's a easy sipper, even without ice. Joe doesn't have ice in hers
I do
yet.
not, but I'm looking at it. I'm
I can move
eyeballing
that
it.
over for you.
Thank you.
You know-
I want to try it with it.
I'll be honest with you. I mean, so Blanton's has been clearly doing this, right? You just read 1984. They
Buffalo
kicked out.
Trace puts it out, yeah.
Yeah, and so they've been doing it and getting better at it, and I think it's a wonderful. This is a great whiskey. So everybody talks about the hype. Everybody talks about the little doohickey bottle toppers.
But those are
I
so
mean,
cool.
They are cool. They're fun to collect. Why not? Why not have a purpose to your bottle and stopper outside of just emptying it and
100%. And it's the hunt, right? When we were going down to Ohio State and we were going to different stores and we were chasing down stuff. I mean, the hunt of trying to find different things, and we're flying all over and we're talking to our friends and they find different stuff for different tasting, different bottles, different makers, and it's just, I love the hunt too. It's just fun.
And now that Zoe's 21,
We got a mule.
I've already told her 9 a.m. There's the liquor store I used to go to on High Street in Columbus moved over by our hotel, actually across the street from where we tailgated. It's where the pastry shop was, Tout Le Jour or whatever it was.
That
you
was
went.
really cool too.
So the liquor store is right there.
Oh goodness.
So I checked that out and asked, and it's Saturdays they do their allocation releases. I think that's pretty common in Ohio now. I know that's something we were going to do more research on and have on an episode was the whole allocation process. So,
Yeah, I would love to learn more about
all
that.
that.
So it's great.
so tasting notes from some of the reviews online. Nose of nutmeg and spices, which we got the spice.
Yep. I don't know about-
nutmeg.
Is it?
I think that's it, because nutmeg to me is like a sweeter spice, like because I think of it with pumpkin pie or those kind of fall vibes or whatever. I'm thinking that might be the other spice that you're.
Okay.
Yeah, so powerful dry vanilla notes in harmony with hints of honey and amid strong caramel and corn.
I'm picking up the caramel.
Yeah, I
I'm
don't
picking
know
up the
about corn.
I'm not either.
I
And
wonder what the
then-
mash bill is.
A medium finish composed of returning corn and nutmeg flavors. So a mash bill on this is high wheat. I think Buffalo Trace is, it's obviously at least 51% corn, but it does have, it's a wheated bourbon. So, so that would be the second major grain in the mix.
Well, this is going down way too easy, I
It
will
is.
say. So
Just because I have to talk about it, I really picked up the nutmeg when you swished it. I promise. I really picked it up.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, you can. Now I can taste the vanilla. Yeah, telling you,
You got to do the whiskey chew
or the
Joe's
swish.
Joe's swish.
just swish it.
it's so interesting when you do that.
It is. It's amazing, like what you pick up.
Yeah. All right. So great whiskey, great conversation we're going to have today. We're going to talk about those 80s, those
Woohoo.
wonderful decade of us growing up. I don't even know if we knew how cool it was until now.
Right. I know. I loved it though.
But I love watching CNN, I think, and some of the other VH1 and stuff do I love the 80s and I love the 90s, and for some reason they're always playing at night when I go to bed and I fall asleep, but
Yeah.
there's so many topics and things that they throw out there. It's like, oh my gosh, I completely forgot about that.
Oh,
Yep.
yeah.
So we're hopefully going to bring some of that to the listeners today and
Yeah.
and start in on our mixtapes that we used to make back in the day. Did you two do that?
Oh goodness gracious, yes. Especially when you're smitten with someone.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. That was the gift of love.
Yeah.
At least I think I still have one of those.
Oh my gosh, they were hours.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like this like organized little thing of how you're gonna do it, and
Was it love songs or was it?
It just depended on who it was for.
And wait,
Yeah.
where did you get your music from?
I recorded it off of the radio.
Exactly, I did too. I used to hit the recorder on the American Top 40 with
Yep.
Casey.
Kasem.
Casey Kasem.
Casey
Yep,
Kasem.
I'd turn that on Sunday night, before going to bed and have it. Oh, what a horrible recording it was too. Just,
Did you ever put a microphone into the stereo and act like you were the DJ?
of course.
That was awesome.
Of
I loved
course.
that. My brother and I used to do that when we were little. We'd put that in and then just talk over it. And
Oh yeah.
I would love
You
to
were part
find
of the
some
blend.
of those tapes.
Yes. That's cool. Yeah, that tape I told you I still have. I got rid of cassette players years ago.
I have
but
some.
kept the tapes. So
You know-
now I've got cassette players though, because I've decided I need to build up my collection I used to have when I was a young person. So now I've started rebuilding that with tape players.
I actually went and bought a Walkman, not like the Sony Walkman. See, now we're getting
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
everything's coming back, but I bought it
is.
because I had a tape of me playing trumpet in high school, and I always look over at Athena for some reason. And
That's okay.
Forget about you, Joe.
I'm pretty, don't worry.
I know.
I understand. I'm
Maybe
comfortable.
that's why I
You're so
can't
pretty.
control myself.
Mm-hmm.
So I bought that because I had some tapes of when I was in high school playing music, and I didn't know which tape it was, but I wanted to listen to them. I found a whole box of them.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can pick them up at Best Buy for like $20 or something.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
It's crazy. It is crazy. Yeah, all of these memories came back, getting ready for this show and just doing just some really light research and just really looking into some of those, so those changes or those things that we used to think were normal. So, along the same lines of cassettes, there was VHS.
Ooh.
Whoop, whoop.
Does anybody know what VHS stands for?
Do not.
I
No.
don't either. How about VCR?
Video cassette recorder.
Yes, you win. Ding, 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 ding. So VCRs played the VHS, but we don't.
But the biggest thing I remember of VCRs is that damn clock that never stopped blinking 12 o'clock.
Right. 100%.
And you could see it throughout your house.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
your living room would be blinking because it was so bright.
It was like a spotlight.
And I'd spend hours trying to get that damn thing set so I could record, because we had talked last time, I think, my cousin Luke.
Yeah.
And I'd always try to record his soap opera when he was on Loving and
Oh, yeah.
90210 and stuff. But it was all time based. We didn't have DVRs like we have now, but you had to have the clock set, or you had to be there and hit the record button.
Oh yeah. The world is so different. Like you had
It
to,
is.
you had to work so hard to record your favorite show if you were, I don't know, you're outside of your house for an evening or something like that. But gosh, what were the TV show nights that you guys like? Because obviously we didn't have streaming, so you had to actually either be sitting in front of your TV when the show came on at a certain time, or you had to record it on your VCR. What were your nights to watch TV that you remember?
Well, I don't know. I can't remember when I watched them, but my big shows as a kid, I was Dukes of Hazzard and Knight Rider. Those were my shows. I love me some MacGyver. I mean, those were my three that I just remember loving. I mean, I had a Dukes of Hazzard like dinner plate that had the compartments because I don't like my food to touch. Don't judge me.
No, I've got a story about the Dukes of Hazzard.
Okay, tell me all about it.
While
I'm
we're
so
talking about
excited.
it. So we were at in Gatlinburg, Tennessee, and Catherine Bach, Daisy Duke.
I knew
was-
it had to do with Daisy Duke.
She was signing autographs, and my friend Troy and I were the last two people in line. So once they got done and shut the line down, we got to hang out with her in there for like 5 minutes or so.
Oh heck yeah, she
But-
was
She was
gorgeous.
cool.
Yeah,
She was cool.
Yeah.
poor thing. Like Daisy Dukes has now become those short shorts instead of like this iconic actress who was like the feminine counterpart to the two boys in there. General Lee. That's
General
the name
Lee.
of the car.
Yep.
Yep.
Rascal
Good
Beagle
show.
Train.
So do you
Good
think
show.
they would be allowed to show that now?
Oh,
I don't know.
I mean, it wasn't, to me, it wasn't like politically incorrect. I mean, other than the flag they had on there that now is offensive to people.
Confederate flag was
Yeah.
on their car.
On the hood
But
or
I
on
mean,
the
it
roof.
was
It was
was
on the
pretty
doors.
family friendly show, and
It was.
Yeah.
wasn't anything wrong with it that I recall.
Just some good old boys.
Waylon Jennings.
Oh, man.
Yeah, but I love that show.
Man.
So, do you guys? I keep saying guys, and
That's
this
okay.
is
We're all
okay.
guys.
You all.
No, we're not.
So, where did you go to get your videos from? We didn't have Blockbuster in small town Ontario,
Yeah,
Ohio.
Blockbuster for me.
Yeah, we had a Blockbuster, but we had I want to say like a small family franchise.
I was gonna say like
type.
Family Video,
Family
maybe.
Video, yeah. And I've seen those, and the reason I think it's a franchise type thing is because it was more than just one or two local stores in my town. It was all the way up here in here in Grand Rapids. It was in Muskegon, like Joe was saying, because I grew up south of Joe in Holland. So, what did you have?
We had a pizza place / video store, like family owned little place, and we'd go in on Fridays, grab our pizza, and come home with the video we were going to watch. And it was, I was pretty sure there was a pizza place in there. My uncle Bob used to have the pizza place in Ontario, and then when he passed away, then they had, I think, another one opened up with the video store or something. But you had to go check them out and check them back in like library books.
You sure did. Did your families ever rent the VCRs there before? Because VCRs were expensive. If I remember right, I want to say like $400 or $500.
My dad bought one.
Yeah,
It was heavy as
it
hell.
took my mom,
It was
my dad a while.
$800.
Yeah,
$800.
oh yeah.
It was,
And
like,
in
so
the '80s.
cool.
That's what $800 40 years
A
ago
lot.
is.
It was a lot of
it's
money.
Different.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, my dad, we would rent the VCR. We would rent the movie. We would probably swing by Little Caesars.
Yep, Little
Because
Caesars.
I feel like Little Caesars was not too far from Blockbusters. Every
No, it
time
was
I
not.
remember. Yeah.
It was right there.
So there was something about pizza, but yeah, it was a weekend
So
family night.
do you remember any of the movies that you used to get?
That was so fun though, going and renting movies, right? So you go in, and it was time consuming because you had to walk and you'd read all the
Alphabetical
backs of
order.
them, and
Yep.
you'd see what the new releases are, and if
And
anything
then they
was,
were never in.
they were never in. So then you'd have to go further, and you're reading and you're picking, and you'd hold on to it. Yeah, but it was fun.
Oh yeah.
So I remember watching Purple Rain, but I don't know, that may have been a 90s thing, but I remember getting Purple Rain. My mom got me the album for Easter one year, or the cassette, and then it's like, oh, I got to watch that. And I remember there was nudity in it.
Oh, yeah.
And I liked that back then as a teenage
Some
boy.
things
You like
never
that now.
change.
That's true. But what about E.T.?
Oh, I so remember that.
Yep, me too.
I definitely remember that. I want to say I saw that in the theater. We didn't get to go to a lot of movies in the theater.
Oh, we did.
That was a really big thing for our family if we went to a movie theater to see a movie.
That was something special my mom did with us. So it was, and we'd all go to the movies, and I think we went to a movie every week. And
You still go to a movie every week.
we do. When I love going to movies with my mom, and so my mom would take me and my sister, and sometimes my dad would come, but she'd always call it silly supper. So we'd have pop and popcorn, and that was our supper, and we'd watch a movie, and it was just so fun. I just had so much fun. It's really great memories.
I remember our movie theater, we had a dollar theater, so we could go in and watch like the second run of something, and it was $1.50.
Yep.
Now, shit, you can't go to the bathroom without charging you $1.50.
Well, you can't even go to the Dollar Tree anymore without paying $1.25.
Yep.
Yeah, I remember one of our theaters. So when I was younger, in the 80s, there was one theater in our town. It was called the Holland 7. And then I want to say into the 90s, when I became, a little older, they opened up one of the AMC theaters that was more broadly around the country. So the Holland 7 kind of lost some of its sparkle, and the Holland 7 became the dollar movie theater at one point. I do remember that. So, yeah. It's interesting how like all of these places like had their place in history, whether it was our own history or
Right.
I mean, like Blockbuster. Did you guys know? So I've mentioned previously that one of my little side hustles is reselling things. So the Blockbuster rental cards, do you remember those laminated?
I have one downstairs.
They sell on eBay. People collect that stuff. $20.
No way.
People will pay $20 for one of those little plastic cards.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Hit
Do
me
you
up. I
remember-
got one downstairs. You can have.
Do you remember the cases that the Blockbuster movies came in with
Yes.
the Blockbuster logo on the cover of it, and just a plastic traditional case? Those clamshells will sell, or particularly good movies from that time period within that type of clamshell. Collectors are collecting Blockbuster stuff.
Unbelievable.
Oh
It's
yeah.
crazy.
Wonder
Well,
why.
Well, I think it has to do with people in their
Okay.
what we're doing right now, right? And we're talking about nostalgia and the things that trigger for you. And, like if you had a certain special memory, really special outside of just a general, we went to Blockbuster kind of movie memory, it would mean something to you. And
But when they released E.T. in 1983, did you have to go to the store and get Reese's Pieces?
100%.
Like,
100%.
I don't think I even knew what they were.
I didn't. Yes.
I thought they were like fake M&Ms or something, and then I
Talk about
realized.
the best marketing ploy ever.
It was great.
Yeah.
Oh, we should have looked up what this like value or I don't know what happened to. Was it Nestle that owned it? Oh my gosh, that was such a good movie.
I don't know if it was Nestle or Mars. It might have been Mars.
Mars.
But that's M&Ms. So yeah, good question.
Yeah.
But then Drew Barrymore.
Oh baby,
I know. She's so cute.
I think she's my age, a year older. Mm-hmm. And I remember like crushing on her as a kid
I'm so shocked.
and as an adult.
Did you see her debut though? So E.T. was like her second one, and then
Firestarter.
Firestarter was actually her first.
Yeah, I never saw that.
Oh, scared.
I just saw it for the real one, the official first one. I just saw it last year for the first time. She's a little doll as a kid, and then she's one of those stars you watch over and over and over again in movies. She went through her own personal things, and now she's got her own talk show. I mean, Drew Barrymore is a big piece of the '80s, that's for sure. So, what about Dirty Dancing? You guys, do you remember Dirty Dancing?
I remember it.
So for me, my memory around Dirty Dancing is, I grew up in a fairly conservative household. And so my parents did not introduce me to Dirty Dancing. Rather, I went over to a friend's after school, and the friend introduced me to Dirty Dancing. And at that time, Dirty Dancing was a pretty racy movie.
It was.
It was, I don't know, the message of the relationship, but it was definitely the dancing.
Mm-hmm.
And I just thought that was super interesting. That's my memory. Like, I think I waited until I was graduated from high school to tell my mom that my friend Robin showed me Dirty Dancing in 6th grade.
I don't know why I never watched it, but like I've seen clips of it as I'm flipping through the channels and stuff, but I've never sat and watched from start to end.
It's a good movie.
You were a country boy in conservative Ohio, and
it was a good
probably
movie,
didn't
though.
let Dirty Dancing come across the border where you live.
What about Star Wars, Return of the Jedi? Like, what about that? I mean, I was a Star Wars freak. I loved all my Star Wars. Did you guys?
Yeah, I like Star Wars. The one funny about that is I've never watched The Empire Strikes Back from start to finish.
What?
Like Star Wars, I've watched a lot. Return of the Jedi.
I'll watch it with you.
But yeah, I struggle now because that one was pretty long from what I remember.
It was.
Yeah.
I
It was.
usually fall asleep during it.
Those were huge cinematic, like, blockbusters. Like, the technology that went into doing the Star Wars movies, and Steven Spielberg did E.T. also, didn't he?
Yes.
He was a huge name in the 80s.
Yes, he
Big
was.
time. Groundbreaking. Now, I didn't get into Star Wars, like, big time. Like, I wouldn't say I was a fan. I know I watched the movies, and I definitely have revisited them. Now, all of these other movies that have come after that really come before the original trilogy. Like, I haven't watched any of those. I haven't gotten on the new Star Wars.
They're good.
Yeah, that's what I'm told.
They're good.
And the television series on like Disney Plus is fantastic nowadays. But yeah,
Trying to think what other movies that I was
just
watching.
give me her eyeballs.
Yep.
Yeah, I
Shaking
know.
my head at her.
What other movies from the 80s? I was just
Adventures in Babysitting.
Oh, you know what I used to watch?
Adventures in Babysitting.
Porky's. And
Oh my
Porky's
gosh.
Was that 8? That was
Oh, that's
USA
gotta be-
Up All
early-
Night with
That's
Gilbert
gotta be like
Gottfried.
late 80s, yeah.
Yes.
Late 80s, early 90s maybe, Porky's.
Ooh, I was thinking it was late 70s or
Do
late
you-
80s.
Is it? Okay,
Yeah.
I could be wrong.
Yeah.
That would have been on USA Up
And
All Night.
Revenge of the Nerds.
Yes.
Revenge of the Nerds, Animal
Loved it.
House.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
Oh my goodness.
I mean, I haven't.
We
I
gotta
don't
have.
remember these.
We gotta have a sleepover
I don't know.
because sleepovers were huge.
Movie-thon.
A movie
All
sleepover
nighter. We can have an all nighter and we can
Oh my
like, eat
gosh.
candy and drink soda.
and just be little girls.
You had me until that part.
Stop it. You can be one of us. Since I'm saying that we can be your guys, you have to be a girl once in a while.
Okay, we'll see about that.
What's up? We're a throuple. Jump on.
It's too bad, though, that we didn't have internet back then. I mean,
Is it though? Is
No.
it really too
and
bad?
we'll talk about that in segment
yes,
3.
we sure
but
will.
Yeah. Wow.
I mean, do you know about this? Like this fact I put into our notes here, Ryan, enough to talk about it?
About internet being born in 1983?
Yeah.
I know a little bit about it. I'm not an expert.
I'm not either.
But I know that I had, during that time, I think I had an Apple, like an Apple II GS or something like that. And I had a Texas Instruments game computer that was essentially a keyboard that took cartridges.
Uh-huh.
And then had a adapter you had to plug onto your TV.
That reminds me so much of the Atari.
Oh,
The
yeah.
cartridges that plug in. And then I think even one of the Ataris did have a keyboard, if I remember
the-
right.
like
Most
the-
of them had the joysticks.
Yeah,
But,
Yep.
2600
Yeah.
or something like that.
oh, man, I just saw on Facebook Marketplace just after COVID world started coming back around, this guy was selling like this huge box of Atari games and consoles, and you know, the nostalgia in me and the reseller was like, I gotta go get this thing. So of course I did, and then of course I had to buy the adapter because our TVs back then
Oh,
were
Lord. Yeah.
had the certain kind of adapter to play better those systems with the the pixels and all of that.
Yeah, it wasn't
business.
RCA jacks. You had to actually plug it into like the FM screw. You had to
Yes.
screw the
Yes.
connectors down.
So
Hey, real quick though,
yeah,
I think it's time for the reach around.
it is.
I do too.
All right,
I'm
Ryan.
running
What do we
dry.
got? What do we got for the reach around today?
So, keeping in line with our Buffalo Trace and Blanton's theme, we are going to do a E.H. Taylor small batch, which I think is probably the same mash bill, just aged a little longer or shorter. I don't know. I should have done more research, but it is very good. Another favorite.
It's one of mine.
Another hard to get here in Grand Rapids, but like it's $49 if you can find it online. And we do have, what do we have up there, Joe? We have a small batch, a barrel proof.
In a single barrel.
And
I brought the single barrel.
Yeah, we have to get those out and
I know.
try the
We
difference.
should do
between
the
those.
difference between the three. That would be. I would love that.
What are you smelling on this one? Now that you took a swig and it's in your mouth.
Honestly, the funk of the glass, Ryan. I can't. Something happened with
The dishwasher.
the dishwasher, and our beautiful glasses somehow absorbed some sort of wet doggy smell,
Yeah.
and I couldn't get past it, so I just went right into my sip. Oh, good idea. Pour it
I'm
in
going
the
to
other
pour
glass.
it into the other glass.
I don't know what happened, but I couldn't get past it, Ryan, so I had to go right into the sip, and it's delicious.
This to me is even sweeter than the Blantons, and we get a lot of people asking us what our favorite whiskeys are and stuff like that. I think for me, E.H. Taylor small batch is good, and I also like the Weller 107.
Ryan, I'm the same. But I am a E.H. Taylor single barrel. I love that. And then the 107, antique 107 Weller.
Yeah, so just to remind our listeners that maybe aren't into the whiskey side of things, so this is a small batch, which just means that they've mixed or blended anywhere from, I think, 10 to 50 barrels into the release. So,
Yep.
so you've got the small batch that's 10 to 50 barrels, and then you have a single barrel, which comes from, as it states, just a single barrel. The thing with the single barrel is taste profiles can be all over the place.
Yep.
Because every barrel's unique. Where it's in the rick house it's stored and how high up in the rack it's stored.
How long?
All that, how long.
Yeah.
So while a lot of people look for those single barrels just because of the taste profiles, that you get something different. Like our Old Forester we got from that we just picked up from One Bourbon.
Yeah.
That's a tasty ass bottle, and I have not had an Old Forester bottle that tastes anything like that. But for people that want consistency, then small batch, when they're blending those together, you get a pretty consistent. Excuse me. Get a pretty consistent flavor profile over releases that way.
Yeah, thank you for that.
So
I think it's. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
I think it's just real quick on your small batch definition. Like, if I remember right, using the small batch is also how a lot of new distilleries come into the market, right? Because they can collect like batches from other distillers in partnership to create those things. So I think it's a really unique way for a company to get lifted, a distillery company to get lifted and not have to wait for their single barrel to mature and to be in the right taste profile. Or so just that's one of the things for me, looking at small batches, it helps me think of that.
Yeah, especially, the cost associated with starting a new distillery.
Right.
And the fact that you can't sell anything other than, a lot of them will do vodka because you can flip that really quick to keep them with some revenue generation, or gin is another,
quick one
to release. But for the bourbon world, I mean, a couple years, 3 years minimum that to make a decent bourbon, and typically longer than that.
Putting the cube in.
I just
Already?
You got that stank face going on again.
No,
Are
no.
you enjoying this?
No, I do. I love it. I love it. I was just,
Joe, I love you. I didn't mean to call it a stank face. Like, it's just a squitchy face.
Yeah, no. Or Joe's arm is in pain.
Oh.
That could be the problem.
You're not drinking fast enough.
You know what? You're right. I'm
Whiskey
not.
cures all.
It does.
COVID.
It does.
Bum
I love it.
arms.
Yeah.
All right. So let's get back into this.
Okay.
So we were kind of talking about Ataris and that kind of thing. But so just a real quick, what kind of video game systems do you guys remember having in the 80s?
I had Nintendo.
Nintendo.
NES, baby.
That was the shit.
Nintendo.
I had the little trackpad, so you could run on the trackpad.
Oh, yeah.
And then Contra and Super Contra were the two games that I loved. And I still remember up, down, down, left, right, BA, BA, select, start.
Oh, wow. Yeah, you do. Was that a cheat
Look
code?
at you.
And that was to get you 99 lives in Contra.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
What was
I
that
remember
duck
cheat
game?
codes. Duck Hunt.
Duck Hunt.
Yes.
That was fun.
Yeah.
What about okay, so how many of you guys beat Super Mario's
Yeah,
Brothers?
me. Yep.
1, 2, or 3?
I don't remember playing a lot of it.
It came with your Super
It
Nintendo.
did.
I know, but we played Contra. Like, that was...
That was his game.
We had a neighborhood full of guys
Yeah, there
that
you go.
would just sit down and shoot stuff
There you go.
on a video game.
I love Donkey Kong.
Oh, yeah.
And Burger Time. Did you ever do the burgers where...
Yep.
Was that on Nintendo, though? Or was
Yeah,
that Atari?
I had a Nintendo Burger Time.
But Donkey Kong, that was Atari.
No, it was on Nintendo.
They had it on Nintendo?
Mm-hmm. I didn't just play Contra.
Did you play Excite Bike?
Nope.
It sounds familiar. What about how did it look?
It was
it very basic, very pixelated?
It was a dirt track, a pixelated dirt track,
Yeah.
and you could build ramps and platforms and stuff,
Yes.
and you would race. And
Okay, I did play that one. As soon as you said it, you know what bounced into my head was pole position.
Oh, that was a good one.
Those are some good games. What about all right, blowing into the cartridge to get the system to read your cartridge.
Yeah.
Yep. Or
I-
wiggle, 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 and then you'd hit
Push it up
push
and
it
down.
up, push it up, push it down.
Almost
But-
like a cheat code.
I know. And then it would work.
And we used erasers, like pencil erasers.
I didn't use that. I did
I
not
heard
do
about
that.
that later.
Yeah.
Yeah, good.
We should have had friends in Ohio. We might have
know.
figured out. I wonder what it was to that.
I don't know.
Blowing
Did
it
you-
out and erasers. Like
Wiggle, wiggle,
Did
wiggle.
either of you have a Sega Genesis?
I did not.
I didn't, but I wanted one. And you know, when we were putting the show together, like it brought back memories of like we had the Nintendo. We were happy. Me and my younger brother, we were kicking it with the video games. But to be honest with you, we were outside playing, which we're going to talk about in a second.
Yeah.
So this talk about video games is only like a limited version of my childhood. But
Me
I
too.
wanted a Sega Genesis.
Yeah.
I just didn't get it. And I'm sitting here today going, you know, these kids that have a PlayStation and an Xbox, and I'm like, why do you got to have both? They're two different systems.
And a PS.
Oh yeah,
whatever,
sure, or a
and,
Nintendo Wii, and like, yeah, I mean, why do you have to have multiple ones? And I'm like, take it back to when we were kids, and there were multiple systems then too. And I think usually in my world that I lived in, my friends only had one or the other. It wasn't a whole lot of
Yeah.
two systems in your house, but it's not for lack of wanting though. The Sega Genesis felt like such a like top-notch
Yep.
system.
It did.
Yeah, the neighbor, our neighbor, Mike, he had a Sega, and all I remember is when we would go down in his basement and play, it was Sonic Hedgehog.
Oh yeah,
That little ball of fur spinning, and
little blue Sonic. Yep,
that was
their-
really the
that
only
was
thing
their big one. Yeah.
that I remember from the Sega. So,
Sorry,
oh,
I was gonna say the other thing that Sega did, but didn't really hit those of us that weren't like early gamers in the '80s, was they did a lot of partnerships with like Japanese anime.
oh, okay.
So really what you find as far as valuable games that are collector games are a lot of anime related games. And I'm like, I didn't even know they made that stuff. And that's because we were too busy outside playing in the woods.
Yeah.
So, but we'll get to
Yeah.
that.
So what about like moving on from pop culture and material items like that? What about like events that happened in the 80s? Do you both remember?
There's one for me that sticks out. And when I broached this with you guys, it stuck out to you too. So I think this is one that will probably touch quite a few of our listeners as well. But I remember the two different Challenger space
Disasters.
shuttles, right? NASA sent up Challenger space shuttles in the 80s. The first one was Sally Ride, and she was earlier in the 80s. My notes are wrong in this right now, but Sally Ride was the first woman in space. And I wrote a paper or researched on her, and she was my idol of the moment in elementary school, probably second grade or something. Maybe I didn't write a paper or anything, but I probably had to do a presentation. I totally remember Sally Ride, but it was the Challenger that went up in 1986, and 80 seconds into its flight, it exploded in the sky. Hadn't
the
even
teacher.
left. Right.
Krista McAuliffe.
Right. I mean, we were sitting in my classroom and in elementary school. I want to say fourth grade.
Where were you, Ryan?
I was in the library
I was
at
in
school.
I was in the cafeteria.
And they were playing
And they
it on
hauled
your...
the
Yep.
they hauled the TV out on the stand.
Oh, yeah.
They rolled it out.
And-
Because the tube TVs were so big, they had to have a huge cart.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I remember that. And then afterwards, I mean, like the whole library was quiet, and it just happened to be that our class was there for library time.
Oh, yeah.
And then after that, looking back, I remember all the jokes that were about the disaster, and I won't say any of them.
No.
But as I was looking this up, I did come across a Reddit post that had a list of all the Challenger jokes, tasteless jokes that were said back then. But I mean, it was different times and different.
It was.
It wasn't right, but I remembered quite a few of those that once I was reading that.
Yeah, I can, just talking about it, I can still remember the feeling, what I was thinking, how I was feeling as I sat there and I saw the explosion.
It was almost like it was a movie.
It was.
Like not a real...
It couldn't be real.
Yeah. And then I remember as a kid thinking, I sure hope they can recover all the people. Like they had parachutes and stuff. We
Yep.
were younger, so we didn't know.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
And I remember it was like 2 days they were out there still looking.
Yeah.
And yeah, obviously they
Terrible.
didn't find anything.
And it really just hit home because she was a teacher.
Yeah.
I mean, so it was so special.
We're in
and it
school.
Yep.
We're sitting with our teachers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
That was terrible.
That was something that hit really deep. And we were what? 8?
Somewhere around there.
Yep.
But the other thing I remember too is a little later in the 80s, was the Berlin Wall
Ooh.
coming down.
Yep. Yep.
Mr.
And I remember-
Gorbachev,
Yeah.
bring down that wall.
I remember
Reagan.
being at my grandmother's house, and she had cable. We didn't have cable. So that was like, early in the news cycle stuff when there were all news channels, and she had that on. It was like
All three
everything
channels.
flipped to it. And yeah,
It's like
that
the
was
same
kinda-
broadcaster too across all 3 channels, even though they were different companies. But that white guy looked like the same
Top
white guy on every
row.
channel. But yeah, the Berlin Wall, to think of, for decades now, we've called it Germany. But when we were growing up and we were in elementary school and we were learning about things,
Yeah.
all the way up to the fall of this wall, that country, Germany, was split into East and West Germany.
Yes.
Right.
I remember that moment for me where I was like, why is East and West Germany? What? But we knew what it was. We were just young,
Yep.
and that's 1989. So that's right before we became, if we weren't already, we were getting close to being teenagers. And honestly, that was just the start of the culmination of the Cold War.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I look back on that, you guys, as I was kind of thinking about this episode, is the Cold War something that I would tell you was a memory of mine? It's really not.
Mm-mm.
It's not. But I had to bring it up. The Berlin Wall falling was momentous, and it was part of the Cold War. It was all part of that communist regime that was in the world at the time. I mean, we watch movies like what's the name of that movie with where the parents and the kid, they're in an earthquake and they go down into their bunker because they think it's the end of the world because it's the Cold War and they were afraid of nuclear war, and so people had built nuclear war bunkers in their backyard to survive the Holocaust if it would
Blast
happen.
from the past or something?
Yes,
Something-
that's it. That's
Okay.
it. Brendan Fraser. So
Yep.
that's a comedy. But if you really think about
That's something that happened.
it really was quite a realistic thing. You could have, wow.
But don't worry, if you stand in the corner when the atomic bomb comes and put your hand over your head, you're okay.
Yep.
I remember watching
Yep.
documentaries and stuff on some of the shit they had those kids do. It's like, are you kidding me?
They're
You're not going
nuts.
to survive a nuclear
No.
Hide under your school desk.
destruction. Yeah.
Oh, wait, that's tornado, not nuclear.
That was nuclear.
It was.
too.
Was it?
They did
Yeah.
the same thing for that.
Oh, well, you guys are older than me, so you probably remember
But
better.
the funny thing is, as the teacher's telling the kids this in this black and white thing, I caught that, and I'm skipping past it.
No, I just gave her a dirty look.
I know. I caught that.
It's months.
Good
but
skip, Ryan. Good
You've
job.
got the teacher with his cigarette, sitting there get under your desk.
Such a different world,
It is.
right?
It is.
Such a different world. What about, do you guys remember much about AIDS? I mean, we were kids.
I
so-
do. Well, I have a story. So
Okay.
my mother, she's super cool. And one day, her and her mom, so my grandma, she said, "Hey, why don't we go to Washington D.C.?" So we packed up and we just left, and we hightailed it to Washington D.C. So it was my sister and I, my mom and grandma, and that was when the AIDS quilt was in Washington D.C.
Oh, wow.
So there was all of every walk of life, and it was just an amazing time. And just I was 11.
Yeah.
So what I got to experience while I was there was just incredible, and all the people that I saw, and the people in drag, and it was really cool. I mean, it was just, for me, it was really just eye-opening for me.
Yeah.
What about you guys?
See, I remember hearing about it, but being in, rural central Ohio, nobody thought it would hit us. I mean, we didn't have gay people in Ohio.
Of course not.
Which
they weren't hiding in the closet,
yeah,
terrified
no
of all
shit.
the
And I
terrified of
know
all
we
the
do,
red.
now, but I mean, it just wasn't anything, and a lot of people, from what I remember, were like, that happens in the big cities. It's not
Oh yeah,
going to
San
hit us
Francisco,
here. Yeah.
New York. Yeah, I don't remember personally like anything about it, but now that we're older, and since Joe and I are members of the LGBTQ plus community, like definitely it surfaces a little bit more and more for us to learn about. But yeah, it just goes like to show you, if it didn't quite touch you personally, it's not the same kind of impact, but it doesn't mean it didn't happen during that time period. So
Well, now though, you've got commercials out there. I mean, and I do remember back then, it's like, oh, we're going to find a cure for this, overnight. Well, it wasn't overnight.
No,
it
it
took
wasn't.
a hell of a long time to
Yeah.
find it.
that's right.
And now I see they've got pills you can take to prevent it from even happening.
I do remember how it did touch some of us in a little bit more a personal way. You remember when Magic Johnson
Yep.
Yeah. Yes.
retired? Now I can't remember 80s,
Yes,
maybe
I think it was
90s.
90s.
Is somewhere in there, but that's how it gets close to you, is when you can connect something personally.
And he was a Michigan State player and
yeah.
Yep.
played in Michigan, so
Yep.
So tell me about, your childhood. How'd you guys grow up?
I feel like we've all kind of touched on it. I think we so lightly speaking, none of us came from big busy cities, right?
right.
Nope.
Right. Ryan's said a couple of times country,
Yep.
Ohio. What about what kind of country did you come from in Ohio?
So we had 2 acres. My uncle lived next to us. He had 18 acres. I mean, the house is
family land.
family land.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then, we had no houses on top of each other. Like, suburban life was not a thing in Mansfield, Ontario, Ohio.
You had to ride the horse and buggy to get to your neighbor's house.
I did ride
didn't you?
horses with the neighbor girl. She had 2, Malia had 2 or 3 horses.
Yeah.
And we'd go out and ride. And then that was my girl time with her. And then the rest of the neighborhood was a bunch of dudes. We'd go play football outside. We'd go build forts in the woods.
Yeah.
We were outside literally from probably 9 a.m. until midnight when we had to be home. And we roamed the neighborhood. We were at each other's houses. We were,
Oh yeah.
we'd come home to eat. We didn't really eat a lot at each other's houses, but
Yep.
we'd come home and eat and then rush right back out to play.
Eating at your friend's house was kind of a big thing when we were
Yeah.
younger. Like you'd get an invite from their parent, and then you'd have to go back to your mom's house, like literally like walk your butt back there or ride a bike, because you couldn't call. And then Mom, can I go eat at Ryan's house? His
Yep.
parents invited me. It's okay with his parents. They're the ones that invited me.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll be on my best behavior. Go change your clothes.
Yep,
Like
Yep.
Well, it was funny because the neighbors down the street, about 4 or 5 houses, and he was a couple years younger than me, but he had older sisters, and we would sit out at the campfire and they would tell ghost stories or
Oh,
stuff.
fun.
And I remember being a little kid and they were talking about the tree trotters. Now it's like there's movies that, and when I see certain movies, I'm like, that's what I frickin' pictured in my head. So I would run as fast as I could
Slender Man.
from Murray's house to our house
Oh hell yeah.
because those damn tree trotters were going to swoop down and
Get ya.
take us. Yeah, that was fun. And we played, did you ever play Kick the Can?
No.
No.
So it
I
was
heard of
like
it.
hide and seek.
Yeah.
And then there was a coffee can or pop can in the backyard. And to be safe, once the person went out to go find people, once you came back and kicked the can, you were safe.
Oh.
So
Interesting.
yeah.
Never played it.
we played that damn near every night from time school got out
Oh heck yeah.
through the summer.
Yeah. The only thing we did with cans is our parents must have attached strings to them because we used them to like stilts, like to walk around to get even taller. But
What about spin the bottle? Did you ever play that?
yeah, but we'll
Yep.
talk about that in the 90s.
Oh, that's right. That was
I had to
later.
get a little bit older for me to play in the bottle. What about you?
What?
Were you playing with spin the bottle in the 80s?
I don't think I ever played it.
Oh, okay.
I avoided that.
We'll see
Nobody
if-
wanted to kiss this poor sap.
We'll see if we can at least come up with a better story for you by the next time. No,
Yeah.
Joe, what about you? How'd you grow up?
You know, I lived near minutes from Lake Michigan, and right across the street were the dunes. So we were always playing in the dunes. It was we'd have hide and seek in the dunes. It was really fun. And like a block and a half away was the elementary school, so you could go there. And out my backyard was like, I don't know, there was another like playground area. It was like hidden. And there was like these sassafras trees, and we'd like build like bombs. So when we built our forts out back, because I only played with boys, because I was a tomboy. So we'd build these forts, and we'd make these bombs with these sassafras. So you fold the middle over, and then the two edges, and then you take the stem and poke it through, and we bomb them with sand in it. So it had sand inside. Oh, yeah. And I was a big marble.
Wicked little children.
Yeah, I was wicked. And then I always played marbles, so I was a big marble player growing up. But you know, it was you know, the fun thing is you'd be outside and you'd be playing all day, but damn it, you better hurry your ass home, because you had to chase. I remember riding my bike chasing the street lights home because I had to be home before the street lights came on.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah,
Street
and
lights.
I would ride it to
Did
the
you have-
edge.
You have streetlights at Ohio?
Oh, not in where I lived.
I did.
When the cars drove by, you got to see things, or you had flashlights.
Yeah, there was no midnight for me. It was
Yeah.
street lights.
Yeah.
What about you, Thee?
Yeah. You know, I didn't grow up too far from you, Joe. You know, I was just down Lake Michigan's coast in Holland, so about 45 minutes south of you. So I had a lake town sort of experience, except for we weren't that close to the beach. So, but we were close to some beautiful woods. We had a beautiful trail. It was so sad for me, like about 10, 15 years ago, to go back to my parents' house and see the woods that I spent so much of my childhood in gone, and the houses that were built on it as part of a development in that neighborhood. But yeah, we spent a lot of time in those woods. We built a fort out there, lugged all of the wood and nails left over from my dad's projects and, you know, my friends' projects and stuff. And so we had a great fort out there. We also would go sledding down the trails, you know, in the woods, which is where my younger brother broke his leg in two places while my parents were out to eat dinner, and I was quote unquote babysitting. Terrible.
I was going to
terrible.
say, I hope they didn't hire you back.
Yeah, I think I lost my job after that, but yeah, we spent a lot of times in those woods. We also, I don't know, me and these two girls that I played with, they went to the Christian school and I went to public school, so we didn't go to school together, but after school, we would be meeting up in somebody's driveway, and we would be out until dark or those lights came on, whichever came first. And we did some things though. I mean, we set up a miniature golf course. I think I was born to like run a business, because
Yeah.
we set up a miniature golf course and we charged the neighbors like 50 cents to come and golf on our 4-hole golf course. I mean, we dug the holes. We created the, like, you know, the
We did similar,
hills.
yeah.
Did you?
Yeah.
Little obstacles.
Oh, it's so fun. And we also had a library. So we had tons of books, and we gathered our books together in my basement, and then we would let the kids in the neighborhood check out our books. It was 10 cents a book. So, of course, we were making money on our
Damn.
library. I
Yeah.
know.
Back then?
I know. 10 cents. Man,
10
we would
cents.
go buy atomic fireballs. Let's talk about the candy. Atomic fireballs.
Oh,
Those
Those
Thank
were my
goodness.
jam. Those were my jam.
Yeah.
But yeah, childhood was definitely fun.
What were
Simple.
those? What were those sugar sticks that you would dip in Lickamaid?
Pixie. Dixie Pixie?
Pixie
no,
sticks.
these were like little. They look like about the size of your
Oh, I know what
finger.
you're talking about. And then you dip them in the
Fun dip.
package.
I think it was
Fun
Lickamaid.
dip.
Fun dip.
Fun dip.
Fun dip. Lickamaid.
Well, in Ohio,
Fun dip.
you might have licked the maids, but
We did.
Lickamaid.
But yeah,
That sticks because my uncle that owned the pizza place had like a candy counter.
Sure.
There.
Yeah, yeah.
And push pops were the other thing.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
push
yeah.
So
stops.
that was our big thing. Him and Aunt Sue would always
Yeah.
bring us like a box of push pops for
Yeah.
our
Love it.
birthdays. And then the kids at school were all jealous. And
That's
it's like,
awesome.
if I was an entrepreneur back then, I could have made some money.
You could have.
But they were so damn good, we didn't like. We
I wouldn't
cherished
share
those.
either.
Well, I think we're hitting our 1 hour mark,
Yeah.
and
It was fun.
This was
It was
fun.
fun going back.
Yeah.
I'm just smiling ear to ear. It's just the memories.
I knew talking with you guys would like even add to the memories I already was trying to kind of have ready to kind of run through this. But yeah,
so
this was
next
such a fun conversation.
time we're gonna go into the '90s. I think
So we're gonna have a
Ooh.
part 2.
part 2.
Whoop whoop.
Listener beware.
Yeah.
The 90s, we were teenagers.
And you know what? We didn't even talk about all the crazy stuff we used to wear with the colors for the 80s. So I can't wait to get in the 90s.
Yeah.
And
We'll have to do
little grunge.
we'll have to do an 80s wrap up and then kick it with the 90s.
Yeah, that'll be a good.
You know, like Vanilla Ice kick it.
We would play that, but we don't have the license
Copyrights.
Yeah, we don't have the, we
on
don't have
that
the
one.
dough for that.
Well, yeah,
So-
this was a good time.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so we'll post some things on our Spotify. You guys can all reach out to us. You can find me at Rye Guy Whiskey GR on Instagram.
And I am Whiskey Thee on Instagram.
And I am Joe the Experience on
Joe the
Instagram.
Experience.
Joe the Experience.
Okay, well, we'll talk to you all next time.
See y'all
Thanks.
next time.
Yep. Bye, you guys.
Cheers.